thing? Yes.
Let's see. I got it. People starting to understand it.
What's this?
You have to check to make sure the court's gonna be done for that meeting.
Oh, yes.
Just a reminder.
Thank you. Michelle? All right. I'm calling the meeting to order. Attendance, please.
Supervisor Holdred,
Here.
Councilman Becker,
Here.
Councilman Courtney,
Here.
Councilman Dysinger,
Here.
Councilman Aldisana is absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
I'll move over.
Is there a motion to open a public hearing on special districts?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We didn't collect the thingy. Is there any public comment on special districts? Is there anything online, Michelle?
There are no comments.
Does the town clerk or the town attorney want to explain kind of what we're doing about that? I think it's a formality every year with the special districts renewal or whatever.
Yep, so the town has to notify all members of the special districts within the town of the fact that the assessment rolls have been prepared. During this period, which spanned about 30 days, there was opportunity to inspect the rolls and comment either for or against the adoption of those. We did not receive any written comments. It appears we do not have any comments this evening. So that having been said, if the board is satisfied to adopt the rolls at this time, you may do so and close the hearing.
With that, is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt the, how do we say this?
The assessment rolls.
The assessment rolls for the special districts?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. We will now move on to reports. Are there any reports from the town board members? Do we want to start out with Councilman Dysinger?
Oh, sure. Okay. Somewhere here. All right. With respect to the building department, for the month of September, issued 48 permits, fees coming to $15,642. There were 43 permits that were closed out. The building department municipal search report will be generated for the next meeting, as we just justified or instituted this module within Edmunds IPS, and we'll be able to give an accurate report at the next meeting. Okay, that's all I have. Nothing for the zoning. They didn't meet in September. Unfortunately, I did not get a report from the planning board, so I can't report on that.
That first report was straight from the building department?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I got it like at 4:00.
Yeah, okay, good.
You
Thank you.
know,
I was wondering.
I
where the
will, I'll
report-
address that. They're supposed to be providing reports by the
By
3rd
Monday.
of the month. Yeah.
Right.
So I will address that issue with the three
Thank you. I
departments.
appreciate it.
Okay. And they should be sending it to Linda so she can distribute it.
Mhm.
Okay, as far as EMS is concerned, Councilman Becker and I will be meeting with 2 of the village trustees next Monday just to discuss requirements for EMS, as well as potentially a meeting with a EMS service provider, another equivalent to Empress. And I have drafted a a document listing requirements for EMS, for an EMS RFP. I gave it to everyone. So everyone gets a chance, please give me your feedback on that. I did have some discussions with a paramedic to answer at least my questions, to get a full understanding of what is needed to establish and run an EMS service. One of the things that that person I spoke to said the biggest problem is getting and keeping competent staff. They do get some people, but some of those people are not the most competent or not really willing to work too hard. So that's, he said, the problem they typically have. And the salaries he told me were pretty much in line with what our consultant Mike Big had told us. But he said the fact that that's what they are is a problem with getting and recruiting staff. So that's what's going on with EMS. Just a reminder, the draft of the property maintenance law. I know we've been busy with EMS and the budget, but I just don't want to have us forget that. So, you know, it'd be great if we could try to close this out, at least the initial review by the end of November. That would be appreciated.
It's on my list.
Pardon me?
It's on my list.
Okay, I'm sure it is. Just a little reminder and not
It's on
bugging,
my list.
just, as far as zoning changes, on September 24th, the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee had submitted recommendations to the town board for potential changes to the Chester Town zoning districts. I had also provided a copy to the chairman of the planning board and ZBA, as well as our building inspector and town engineer. I have not received any comments back yet, so I ask everyone to try to spend some time to review it. Give me, if you have any questions, you know, come back to me with questions or comments or whatever the case might be, so we can try to wrap this up this year. That's all I have.
Thank you. Deputy Supervisor?
Okay. Several months ago, I met with Maureen from the library with John and Chris to discuss running a water line out to the community garden. Pricing for that project was put together and the library board has approved that amount of $1,300. And the highway department and the water department are going to schedule a time in the next few weeks, hopefully, to get that project done. Also attended a village board meeting this past Monday with Councilman Dysinger and discussed making ourselves available, myself and the rest of the board, available to them for meetings to discuss our EMS project. So hopefully we could get that moving. I also have, you know, for this board, if anybody has any questions, I'd like to get a list of questions together that maybe haven't been answered yet. So that we can, you know, get answers to some of those questions. I know I have a few other questions after talking to an EMS person also. So I'd like to get a list of that together and let's get as much information as we can before we make our final decision on how we're going to proceed. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Courtney?
I really don't have that much. Just reminding everyone, this weekend is the Fall Festival in Sugarloaf. Supervisor, I'm sure you probably had that on your list. I did stop by the run at the tail end of the run on Saturday, which was very well received. That they had over 150 runners. Is that accurate, Brandon?
Yes.
So for a first time out, I thought that was great. So hopefully they're going to continue to do that.
Did you see anybody that you liked in the race?
No. There
Not
was
one
this
person?
young guy that says he's the boss of the town or something,
Oh.
but I didn't pay no mind to him. I was actually trying to trip him up. I was hiding behind a tree on the railroad tracks.
I don't think he saw you out there.
You know, I was camouflaged. He wouldn't have seen me. I also, you know, as Councilman Dysinger said, attending the conservation, not conservation. Well, you have so many.
Comprehensive
So many
plan.
committees. I'm on that one too, but, you know, spending time with, doing the comprehensive plan, was at the Sugarloaf, Performing Arts Center last night for the for the SPLAC committee, advisory committee. Tomorrow night, we have, again, with Larry and yourself, Supervisor, with the comprehensive plan. Just going to these, staying abreast of what's going on with these committee meetings. They seem to be overall very well received, and I think we're getting a lot of good feedback from it. Sometimes not stuff you want to hear, but I think that's the idea of having these committees. And I think that's all. And last thing I want to remind everyone, November 1st, the Love for Lily event at the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center. Diamond Grade Media put up a link to where you can buy tickets or donate. So hopefully we can get a lot of people out to support the family. I mean, they've had mounting medical bills. Their house had during one of the storms over the summer took a hit to their roof, so they need to put a new roof on it. So then I want to thank you, Supervisor and Assemblyman Moore and Senator Skoufis, for finally getting the solar company for Tesla to get the panels off the roof too, so they could fix the roof before the winter. So I appreciate that. I think that is all I have.
What's the time? of that
It's
event?
6 to 10. 60s and 70s dance party.
All good?
I'm good.
All right. Getting to the department reports from the Highway Department. Roadside mowing continues throughout the town. Sweeping of roads continues. Investigating dead trees on town property. Getting estimates for removal. Ditch cleaning to ensure proper water flow. Trimming around guardrails and signposts continue. Catch basins are being cleared out and repaired. Shoulder work on Hambletonian Ave, Pine Hill Road, and Bull Mill Road. Assist water department with water shutoffs in Surrey Meadows, drainage pipes installed on Lori Lane and patched in, blacktopping, patching continues, stop signs installed in Surrey Meadows, mechanics continue to repair items in need, prepare for inspections, and service police vehicles. That is from the Highway Department. From Parks, normal monthly operations, attended budget preparations for the Parks and Rec and the Performing Arts Center departments. Sent letters home with elementary students seeking coaches for the upcoming Town of Chester Rec basketball season. We are still accepting volunteers. A coaches meeting will be held in mid-October, followed by open registration dates to be announced. There will be a live registration ice cream social to be announced. Working closely with the town supervisor and Donna from the Highway Department in continued efforts to replace the lights at the Chester Commons. Attended several events at the Performing Arts Center, including the well-attended fall concert series. Working on Town of Chester Halloween activities. There is still room to have trunk or treat. To have a trunk or treat. Please contact Kristen Palmer at 469-7000 extension 102. From the Performing Arts Center, Robert has started sprucing up the front of the pack, power washing, caulking, and new wood and fresh paints. Red Grammar presented by the Town of Chester and the Sugarloaf Community Foundation went off flawlessly. Had about 100 people dancing and singing. Free concert series continues this week. It is the final concert of the series. This first 4 weeks were amazing. People dancing in the aisles and thanking the town for doing this for them. Sugarloaf Street Festival, October 12th and 13th, using the parking lot for overflow of parking from Sugarloaf Firehouse. October full of things to do at the Pack. Trunk or Treat is October 26th, and it is a free event. From the police department, the animal control report, there were 11 complaints and investigated 4 motor vehicle crashes involving deer. Breakdown of the complaints for the month are as follows. 3 calls for service were lost or found dogs. 2 were for injured or deceased deer. 1 was for a lost cat. 1 was for a barking dog. 1 was for a daytime raccoon sighting. 1 was for a coyote sighting. 1 was for a deceased dog in a residence.
and one was for an unknown animal in a bedroom. And that is I'd like to know what the unknown, do we still not know after the investigation? All right. Gosh. All right. I'm sorry? It doesn't say. I will do my best to get some answers on that. I'm sure the people would want to know. Right. Now the police department. There were 268 calls for service and 16,849 miles driven by the police department this month. 15 arrests, 12 charged with operating a vehicle with suspended driver's license or registration misdemeanors, 1 charged with fleeing police in a motor vehicle and operating with a suspended driver's license, 1 charged for harboring a harassing dog, and 1 arrested for an outstanding bench warrant. There was a bunch of non-criminal activity that you can look up. There was 4 house security checks and 1,088 business security checks, and a bunch more that our police department is doing for us. So please look at the full report if you'd like that information. Did I get all the ones that? I'm sorry? Mudna? No. We have a Mudna report. There was weed whacking and cleaning up of the pump station, all the pump stations. Jet sewer lines in Lake Hill. A new panel was installed at 3A, hooked up the O2 system. The new pump panel at 3A ran all new floats at 3A. What is 3A?
3A, I think that's the main pump station down by Camp LaGuardia.
Thank you. Rebuilt spool on booster pump for O2 system, had an EPA inspection of the town of Chester sewer, jet storm drains of the highway department in Lake Hill, pulled out and changed bearings on the second pump at Walton Lake. Telog issues with Lake Region PS, had to rewire. Float pot problems with Surrey PS, replaced flow meter board at the Lake Hill PS, installed PS's pump station, I'm sure. Installed a new panel at 1354 Kings Highway, jet sewer line in Surrey. There were emergency calls throughout town of Chester that were responded to, and there were monthly maintenance throughout the town of Chester. Thank you. From me, or from some other updates, leaf pickup will be from October 28th to December 6th from the town highway department. There will be a repair cafe hosted by the Chester Conservation Advisory Council at the Senior Center at 10 a.m. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. When is that?
Second.
The 2nd, November 2nd? Yes. November 2nd, repair cafe from the Conservation Advisory Council from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll be repairing a bunch of different things. If you are unfamiliar, like electronics and other gadgets and gizmos and all that, right? Did I hit it? Yeah, very good.
Lots of things, jewelry, everything.
Jewelry,
Knife sharpening.
knife sharpening.
Chainsaws?
It's miscellaneous. Chester Historical Society's 60th year anniversary at the 1915 Erie Station Museum on November 3rd at 2 p.m. And then from me specifically, this month I worked a lot on EMS with the town board and the village. The tentative budget is in. We had our budget workshop, and we will be having a public presentation. I'll be doing a public presentation of the tentative budget next week on the 15th. Please be on the lookout if that changes for some reason. I attended the Chester High School again for a class visit, talked about local government, why it's important for people to be involved and knowledgeable about what's going on in their local government. We had Independent Living come in to speak to the town departments about different things with, mobility challenged people, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to be accommodating to all in all of our departments. The Sugarville 5K that was sponsored by the Community Foundation really did go off without a hitch, and it was wonderfully put on. It exceeded all expectations, and it was a great run. I was happy to be a part of it. I met with the other members of the Community Foundation this month with our engineer to go over future sidewalk plans. There's more to come on that. Some pretty exciting announcements to come on in the future. I attended a couple grant meetings with the grant writers and the Conservation Advisory Council. Baleville will be having their fall open house, I believe, on Sunday. Am I mistaken? I'm pretty sure it's at 2. I'm sorry, it's 2 p.m. on Saturday. Yes. And then as far as I know, I believe there is a witches parade happening during the Sugarloaf Fall Festival happening this weekend, and that is at 3 p.m. During the Fall Festival on Saturday. So that is it for me, and a happy early Yom Kippur to all that practice.
Could you also make this?
Sure. From the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, you can sign up for a free class to learn about preparing for emergencies at the Chester Senior Center, 81 LaRue Road in Chester, New York. And that is going to be on October 15th at 1 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. You can find out more information on the town website where that is posted. But that is it from me. So we will close down reports. I missed a agenda item. Is there a motion to, did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the September 25th meeting?
Yes.
Are there any debate points or questions?
Nope.
No. Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comment. I have first on the list for public comment, Connie Roach. Good evening.
Good evening.
I know this is not the final budget that you're proposing. It was the tentative, but I've been looking at it and I just have a few questions. Friendly visitor program,
That is Jewish Family Services. It
okay?
will be, if passed in the budget, and this is something I do plan to explain in my public presentation.
Okay,
It is an organization that goes around helping seniors mostly with, getting to appointments, delivering groceries. I think it'll be a pretty good service to seniors in the town of Chester. They do this throughout Orange County in a bunch of different municipalities.
right, and they also serve Chester.
They
It is
serve,
a nonprofit.
Mhm. They serve Chester very sparsely right now. We don't have a contract with them or anything. They would be able to dedicate more dedicated staff and volunteers to Chester if we were to get in a contract with them.
Oh,
they
so
have
this
with
is
other
to
towns.
get into a contract with them?
Yes,
Potentially,
if it's
Potentially,
passed.
yes, potentially.
to be discussed.
Right, because I know, like I said, I do know they have been in been in Chester. Because many years ago, they visited my mom, so I do
Mhm.
know that.
They asked for a $10,000 contract, and I was able to get them to agree tentatively to a $7,500 contract for basically the same services.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, they're a nonprofit, so.
Yes, well, they have to pay for their staffing and all that, so.
I thought they were volunteers. Moving
Well,
on,
they have volunteers, but they also have paid staff.
okay.
I was a volunteer for the Jewish Family Services. I did go to people, I wasn't paid. It is a volunteer position where you go and help
Right.
people with shopping, take them to the
Yeah.
doctor, whatever, as a volunteer. The only cost involved in there, they have a building and they have staff
Mhm.
to run the service.
Yes.
Okay, well, we can get that another time when the budget is fully proposed. Then the Conservation Advisory Committee.
Mhm.
Why do they have a line item?
Uh,
They're an advisory committee to you.
Mhm.
If they want to do things, because I listen to the budget hearings, why can't they solicit donations, fundraise?
They can't. Any town entity cannot solicit donations. It's against the law.
Okay,
Yes. They're asking for a little bit of money to be set aside for them with the town budget. But any use of that money would have to be approved by the town board. But they just want a very small light item, just like any other town department, to be able to have something for themselves to put on some programming and, get.
right, like I said, I did listen, so I know what they were
Okay.
asking for.
Yeah.
But I just didn't understand why they're an advisory committee, why I didn't realize they could not seek
Yeah.
donations.
We can accept donations,
But they can't
but we can't
solicit.
ask for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Isn't the law fun?
Okay, and then my last is supervisor personnel. You have a big number, comptroller has all zeros. So can I assume that the comptroller is lumped into supervisor?
Yes, he must be, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all my questions for tonight.
No problem.
Thank you.
It says 0 next to the comptroller line.
Yes, the whole thing is zero.
Maybe that was a mistake, but I'll look into that. We had to completely redo the budget since it's never been done on the Edmunds system, so there will be some bumps in the road. But I will make sure I look into that.
That's a big number on you.
Well, actually, I'm proposing $1 million raise for myself, so that's probably why.
You probably.
Yeah. Didn't you know?
Salaries are large.
Yes, I am being sarcastic for the public record.
You just got docked.
All right. I don't have anybody else written. Are there any public comment at this time? Please step right up and please state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Steve Quilliam, 241 Meadow Ave.
Thank you.
I understand it's just a waiver for moratorium tonight on the Chester Ag development that's going to go on the corner of Meadow and 94. I just wanted to get my opposition right from the beginning. They were very vocal about the property next door, taking on all the dirt. They were very proud that they helped coordinate it and stop the development, and now they're trying to build right next door. So the 12 houses for migrant farmers they're going to put. Currently, all the black dirt that they own is leased for farming. All the migrant farmers have housing that exceeds the limits by the government. They all have tenements. The majority of the remaining black dirt is owned by Jonah Kocher, with whom the Ag Center had a proposed deal that fell through. So there's really no need now or in the near future for them to have more housing for migrants. And if and when Joe ever does sell, if they revisit that deal, if you've seen in the Kocher subdivision, he's got many houses, some that are currently being used to rent to the migrants, and other ones that could be, prime location for a renovation. The other 12 units are for vacation home for weekenders from New York City, et cetera, for agro-tourism. It's going to be a very minimum influx of money to the town, and they don't offer anything for the town or its residents whatsoever. There's also a lot, I'm here with my neighbor Ann Hickey. There's a vacant lot in between us that connects to that property. They want to use that as a walkway for the migrants and the vacationers to come through to access the black dirt. It's a personal thing. I live there with a 6-year-old, a 14-year-old, and we chose the area because it's very quiet. There's not a lot of traffic. We don't have sidewalks, and that was a big part of that. It's just kind of like a grant grab. It's not helping the housing crisis, like they said. The migrant farmers are already here. We already have a migrant problem in the country. It's not helping that whatsoever, and it's definitely not helping the housing crisis by bringing people in for vacationers. So it's a beautiful rolling hills coming into the town of Chester, coming southbound on 94. In addition to Ann, all the neighbors up to Garden Street we've been in contact with, and there's a lot that have opposition. Thanks for your time. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other public comment in the audience tonight? Is there anything online?
Yes, I have a comment from Lydia Quadros. Why are water rates increasing? Is the increase $10 per month? Is this to pay for new electric water meters? When were the new meters discussed and why was there no public meeting about these new meters?
So the water rates were, there's a discussion in a agenda item here to raise the rates to $10 for all of the water districts. This isn't to pay just for water meters. This is to make the water districts more self-sustaining. And with the water meters themselves, they were budgeted for in the 2024 budget. So there were meetings on this and it was voted on in the budget. So I don't know, there was never any, it was just like another equipment purchase. It was budgeted for, that's how those things happen. There are purchases like that happen in every department every year. So you have to, look out for what is being included in the budget and make sure that you're informed on that. Sure.
So my understanding is the meter fitting technically is approximately $100 per. And with the increase in the rate, it will also affect taxes in the district by technically lowering the taxes to offset the increase in the water rate. So you'll be paying more for usage as opposed to be paying for ad valorem.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is for people to have the true cost of water known to them, because right now, every one of our districts has to be supplemented by taxes from that district because the rates do not cover the cost of producing that water.
The goal is to get rates to a level where it's covering the full cost of maintaining the water districts, so your taxes can go down. I'm sorry? Yeah, ultimately, the taxes will hopefully go down to zero when we get to the correct amount of usage rates. These water meters, I think, will probably help with that, with monitoring the usage and, again, getting the true cost of everything. And you're actually going to be able to get an app that allows you to track your own usage and make sure that you catch leaks ahead of time.
It'll also give you alerts if a leak is detected. And the whole operation of that meter is basically, it sends a signal. I mean, a lot of people are concerned with anything radio or anything like that. It basically sends a signal of a text message 4 times a day, which is less than most people use their phone throughout the day.
Which they have attached to their hip.
Yeah, so it's very minimal, output of anything other than 4 times a day it sends a text.
Just a question, when was and you might not know this, when was the last time water rates were adjusted? I mean, I've been on this board 5 years. I don't recall us ever adjusting water rates.
It might be
Only in Fieldcrest were they recently adjusted because
the
we
rates of the village
purchased our
went up.
water from the village, so we raised the
That
rate to
was-
compensate
That
for
was for
that.
that, but we haven't done
But
it.
prior to that, it was
No, it's always been supplemented by
probably
taxes.
2011 possibly.
2011.
The moral of that story, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that the water districts have been grossly underfunded and just not managed correctly for a long time. So we're trying to do something now that's going to get us back on track to have all our water districts budgeted for correctly. This is kind of the first step in that direction.
It'll also give people an opportunity, if they want to save money on their water, they can reduce the amount of water they use.
Mhm.
Right now, they're bare minimum cost for the water, and it's being pulled out of taxes, so you have no way of saving.
All right. Are there any other public comment at this time?
Just again, Lydia Quadros question, $10 per month.
No,
It's
$10 a
$10 a thousand gallons.
$10 per 1,000 gallons.
And that's in line with what Fieldcrest has moved up to as per the village cost.
Mhm. Anything else? Seeing none, we will move on. Summary of bills. The town will be paying bills in the amount of $156,239.11 for the month of, for the October 9th abstract. All right, resolution to set public hearing to change the local law on all water district water rates, late fees, and billing schedules on November 13th. Unfortunately, we will have to table this. We do not have a resolution written out for this yet, but we can do one part of this.
So what I would recommend
Is to wait to do it all at once.
We'll do it all at once. So
Okay.
The rates can be adjusted by resolution. There should be a public hearing for public comment on that. But with respect to the late fee and the payment schedule, that is in your code. So we need to amend that by local law. I will draft a local law for your review, circulate in advance of next meeting.
Is there a motion to table until October 25th?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is tabled until October 25th. That will be to set the public hearing, which,
We would introduce and then set the public hearing.
yes, and the public hearing will most likely, just for advance notice to everybody, will now be set on November 27th.
23rd wouldn't be.
No, I'm sorry. October 23rd is the next meeting. And the public hearing, if we set it at that date, will be set for November 27th at this. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To be continued on that. We'll figure it out. We might not do that since it's Thanksgiving. Just be on the lookout for the next budget, for the next agenda. All right, Chester Agricultural Center building moratorium waiver request. Everybody received the information, correct, on this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Are
but
there any debate points or questions on this?
the only concern I have, I mean, this is basically putting in apartments in an agricultural zone. And it's meant for farm workers. I'm not sure how much of a need it is. You know, is it for farm workers in the town of Chester or for other areas? A concern that I have is it always going to be for farm workers? You know, once it's built and everything else, who's going to monitor to make sure the people living there are actually farm workers? And, you know, typically farm workers, I mean, there are some farm workers that work year round for some farms, but there are a lot of others that are just seasonal. So, you know, you're putting apartments into an agricultural area. So it's not zoned for it. So, you know, I just have that concern. I don't have a problem with giving a waiver or moratorium. I mean, most of what my concerns would be addressed during the planning board meetings.
Right. That was
So that's when they would be discussed. I just have some concerns and I just hope they're addressed during the planning board review.
Liz, do you want to speak on kind of this waiver request from a
Certainly.
legal standpoint?
I did prepare a memo which I circulated via email to the board regarding the application. Under your moratorium local law, applications of this nature may not be submitted and the planning board doesn't have authority to process them. There is a safety valve where an applicant demonstrates a hardship that the moratorium presents a hardship to the applicant and they are required to provide dollars and cents proof as to that hardship to justify the granting of the waiver. In essence, what is the harm? The question for this board is, what is the harm of saying, okay, you can start your planning process now versus waiting till the comprehensive plan and zoning amendments are concluded? So I do have that memo. that I set forth. Couple of issues. The applicant has indicated that there are funding sources and those funding sources have time constraints. It's not clear what those time constraints are. I could not identify what those time constraints were. And my understanding from Mr. Sirota, the planning board chair, is that no application has been submitted to date, so they weren't in the process. Some of our applicants that have come before us were in the process and halted by the moratorium, and essentially the waiver was letting them continue. This applicant has not started.
Well, this did go to the planning board a year or two ago, and then it stopped.
But for an informal, correct?
Yeah.
There's no,
Yes,
I was
that's
told there was
correct.
no application on file.
Right.
So then we should have, I mean, I'm guessing the planning board has to do their part first before we could even.
But they can't,
No, they can't do it.
Can't even go to
under our
Until
planning
until we.
Correct. The proposed project is located in the AR3 district, which does permit dormitories or residence for employees living on the premises as an accessory use to a commercial agricultural operation. This is accessory use 12. An accessory use is defined as a permitted subordinate building structure or use, which is clearly incidental to customarily in connection and located on the same lot as the principal permitted use. In short, you cannot have an accessory use without a principal permitted use on a lot. It appears the intention of this provision was to provide housing in connection with farm operations. In the absence of a farming operation, such housing would not be permitted. The applicant would need to merge the subject lot with an existing agricultural operation, so that, and Councilman Dysinger, to your point, so that the two don't operate independently. So this is not intended to operate independently. So if they stop farming, the use would have to stop. In the absence of such merger, it does not appear that the proposal complies with our code. And I just note my footnote, it appears the applicant has had informal discussions with the prior administration, and the takeaway from the discussions that the project is code compliant. I've not been able to identify anything in writing to that effect. I also note the town has not found if a prior administration issued a determination that was an error. The waiver is an unlisted action pursuant to SECR in accordance with Local Law 1 of 2024. At a minimum, a short form environmental assessment form should be included in the record. In the absence of an application, I had been hoping when I started my review that I could rely on an existing environmental assessment form. Because there is no application, there's no form. In the event the board chooses to grant a waiver, the applicant should be advised that they're proceeding at their own risk, that the comprehensive and zoning could change to the detriment of the project. So this goes for any applicant that receives a waiver. If
the zoning
something comes
changes?
up, yep.
But as far as farms go, are they exempt from our zoning in certain instances?
There are certain exemptions from zoning and building codes for certain farm projects.
Okay.
But that I wouldn't say a blatant exemption. I want to see it on a case basis.
Okay, so they're not totally exempt from our zoning.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
You are allowed
Certain-
reasonable regulation, and there's a process which I'll actually be circulating on a separate note, a memo as to the comprehensive planning process, and how our board will be processing that. There's Ag and Markets Law Section 305A, which you can get a determination whether your regulation is unreasonably interferes with a farm.
Right.
But you are permitted to have some reasonable regulations of farms.
So is where they want to put these apartments, is that an active farm at this point?
No.
That property?
Based on the materials I saw, it appeared the site was only going to be used for the residents. I did not see a farming operation per se.
Right,
And
that's-
their narrative indicated that there was nearby operations. So again, our code provides for an accessory use, that kind of use as an accessory, not a principal permitted. So that would be an issue that I would want the applicant to address.
Right.
Is
That
that,
again would be addressed in the planning process.
is that the property that Jimmy
Derma's
Derma
farm.
currently mows?
You know Derma's farm?
Yep.
Okay.
It's across the
Well, it was
street.
divided out to all the kids.
and the one daughter sold off her part, which is just above, it's the lowest part on the
Okay.
right-hand side of
Yeah.
Meadow as you come down.
Come down, yeah. Okay, where the pond is.
Yes.
Right, that section there.
Yeah, so that was sold and now it's owned by them and,
And
But
it's
he-
never been farmed, and now they're between 241 and they're 245? 237, I'm sorry. There's a vacant lot, which is just about a 50 by 100 lot
Mhm.
with a big hill at the back. They want to now make a pathway through that to walk between our houses, so technically it would connect to the
yeah,
farm.
because that's part, that lot is part of the farm across, part of the Black Dirt Farm. They used to store boxes and everything
Yes.
there.
So, but I think we step back, if it's not part of an active farm, why would we then grant a moratorium then, a waiver?
It's kind of a catch-22 there too, but I know Derma's still been mowing it, so are they still, see, where we got to look at too, is it still under the farm exemption?
Yeah, but looking at the site plan, they're taking up a lot of space on that piece of property.
Mhm.
So it doesn't leave much for any farming on that piece of property.
I think we need to
Yeah.
focus on the
The part of
the waiver itself. I
Right.
mean, everything that we're talking about right
And
now is something
If
that.
you'd like, I'm happy, if you'd like, I'm happy to discuss the legal implications and attorney-client, if you'd like
Okay.
to brief attorney-client. We can do that as well to focus on the requirements of the moratorium.
Before we even do that, is there somebody here from the Chester Agricultural Center that would like to speak on it?
Yeah.
Do you want to step up real quick?
I wanted to address your questions about the funding, because we did receive.
Can you just identify yourself for
Oh,
the
yes.
record?
Sarah Katz, Executive Director of Chester Agricultural Center.
So could you just go into the funding aspect and why this, why is this going to be a hardship for you if you were to wait a few more months while the comprehensive plan review continues and the building moratorium is still in effect?
Yes, so earlier this year, we were granted $1 million line item in Congressman Patrick Ryan's budget. And we just learned last week that that funding will go into grant agreement next month. So yeah, as soon as, it's HUD funding, so it could take a long time to shake down to us, but yeah, grant agreement next month. And then we also are proceeding to final application on USDA 514 program, which is for farm worker rental housing. And that that'll go into effect January of 2025. And that is also just under $1 million of funding.
So is there some sort of situation here if you do not get an application in at some point, like in the next month or so, that you're going to lose some of this funding? Or is it just that you would like to get a head start and that's why you're asking for the waiver?
Yeah, we could lose the funding because we have to show progress as the grant agreement goes into effect.
What is the deadline for that to show the progress?
We'll be in grant agreement next month. So we have to start putting in costs for reimbursement that we've, entered into agreement.
And that is the $1 million HUD?
That's the HUD funding, yeah. And then the USDA funding starts in January of next year, so.
And you have to do the same for that to show progress in order to keep the funding possibly?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Are there any questions for Ms. Katz?
No.
Does the board wish to enter attorney-client privilege at this time, or do they feel as though they have enough to make a decision?
I would like to go into executive session to discuss it.
Is there a motion to head into attorney-client privilege to discuss this real briefly?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll be right back.
my chair was like a million miles away.
Got good wheels.
Is there a motion to come out of attorney-client privilege?
Motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any motion on this agenda item? Yes.
We voted coming out of executive session.
Yes, we did. Oh, all those in favor of coming out of attorney-client privilege?
Aye.
We are out of attorney-client privilege. Is there a motion on this agenda item?
I make a motion to decline the request for a waiver due to failing to meet the standards to justify the request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
It passes unanimously. The request is denied on the grounds that it did not meet the standard to show that it was that it was going to be financially harming, and it was also on the basis that we are very close to being done with the comprehensive plan review process. It should only be a few months from now that it'll be over, possibly by the end of the year, if not the very, very beginning of next year, at which time the building moratorium will be lifted. So you will be able to submit your application at that time. The third and final reason was that at this point, we are not 100% clear that it is in compliance with our zoning code. So those are the three reasons. If you want to submit another waiver request, if you can clear up those reasons, at least the two that you do have control over, meaning the financial harm and the zoning, by all means you are able to. But again, the second reason was we're very, very close to being done with our comprehensive plan. So even if we were to grant you the waiver tonight, we would only be saving you like 2 months, so. But feel free to come back to us with more details, okay?
Okay, and the next step to come back to you, say in the 2 months, is to actually approach the planning board, not the county?
If you want to submit a waiver request, you submit it to us and you submit more information. If you are just going to wait for the building moratorium to be lifted and it is lifted, then you can submit your application straight to the planning board.
Right.
Okay? All right. Moving on. Jeff Son, Sundays on the Loaf fee waiver extension request. They would like one more fee waiver for a Shakespeare festival on November 10th. Jeff, did you want to speak on this very quick?
Just very quickly, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. You guys know, Sundays on the Loaf is a free concert series, free to the community. You try to use all community members. We had Red Grammar do a kids family concert that was very successful. Some of you were there. The second concert was National Hispanic Heritage Month, sorry. We had a salsa night, very successful. 130 people came there. People from Long Island came. The third event is a Native American presence. We're talking about the Lenape with storytelling, dance. Cliff Patrick, another resident, will be there, and he'll be a panelist. The fourth is Tim Hassel, lives in Sugarloaf. He went to Yale Drama School. He's aspiring to do a Shakespeare festival here, outdoors at the Loaf. It's a wonderful idea. He wanted to try something and do Much Ado About Nothing as a stage reading at the Pavilion. He thinks it's a great idea. He's using residents. He's using Robert Smith. And it's going to be a small, quiet afternoon. So as a result, I'd love to request just one extension to let him try this for a community member, free to the community, and it's a stage reading.
And would this be a similar situation that if we had a paying customer come along?
I'll move it. I can move it.
We can move it.
So I pay cleaning fee, I pay insurance, and if Walt says, can you move it a couple hours later or to another week, it's for Tim, a resident, I'd be happy to move it.
I think we should grant the waiver. Is there any questions or debate points on this?
I just want to make sure that, in the future, we really need to, I know there's discussions from the past that we really need to limit the amount of things we, move,
The waivers we
move forward with, so it's I think it's being discussed.
The fee schedule is being discussed.
Yeah,
I
fee
think
schedule and everything, but
we are very imminently close to kind of getting more of a iron fist when it comes to waivers.
So right now we haven't got that in place, but
Right.
I hope that we have that soon so that we have a guideline to follow from year to year on just how often the theaters, giving out for free, because there's still, regardless of things being cleaned, there's still costs at the facility that are incurred by the facility for these projects.
They are, again, just to reiterate, you guys are paying cleaning fees
Yeah.
and the insurance, correct?
Insurance, cleaning
got
fees,
that.
but it's an interesting point you raised,
Yep.
Councilman Tom, is that as part of the Sugarloaf Advisory Board, we think there's a value to having educational,
Yeah.
not unlimited, but that really enhance the community. That's not being done. We're not going to do a tribute band. We're not going to do rock or hip hop. We're doing Shakespeare. We're doing Native American.
I
We're doing
agree.
classical music.
I'm looking at the whole picture, that's all.
Absolutely right. So as long as it's educational and we think of value and done by the community for the community, we think there's a value to it.
I know we got to look at the whole picture, and,
Yes, sir.
whenever the county requests, we generally give to the county, and that's,
And we are imminently trying to come up with that policy.
okay.
I'd say weeks.
Thank you.
Understood.
I'm sorry, Larry. I was there, I'm at all of their meetings, and they're probably rounded second, heading to third. Would that be fair on where we're
I
at
think
with
we're
the?
third. We're going to have a work session. I think we're there, and it's very nuanced, actually. It's very fascinating. What days or what months are available? For example, February is available, July and August, but December's all schools. We're trying to work out the nuances.
Yeah.
Can we lower the rates for
Yeah,
February?
there's a lot of things to look at, and I haven't barely been part of that, but I'm just
It's
throwing
interesting.
something out
I
there.
thought it'd be
that's
very simple. It's not.
all. Okay, thank you.
We agree.
Good.
Are there any,
Okay.
is there any other debate points or questions on it?
No.
I'd like to motion to grant the waiver request. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. The Chester Parks Advisory Board was created about a month ago now. I have interviewed the applicants to the advisory board. We did get 10 applicants to be a part of the advisory board. This board would exactly what it's in the name. They are going to be an advisory board for our parks, which includes our fields and our playgrounds. They're members of the community that are either experts or passionate or experienced in some way with our parks. I would like to get another advisory board set up for the parks to be able to have some guidance and direction directly from our residents. So I did send an email earlier today. I'm sorry that it did come in a little late, but I am there. Out of the 10, we had a resolution calling for 5 to 7 voting members. The only difference between a voting and non-voting member of the Parks Advisory Board is that the voting members will be able to vote on an advisory opinion to the town board. They have no power other than that. The town board then can decide whether or not to say yay or nay to said advisory opinion. But everybody on the board, regardless of what status they are, will have a voice and will be able to take part in the discussions and debate and research and what have you. Out of the 10, I am choosing to go with 7 instead of 5 voting members. That is my recommendation to the town board. And the 7 that I am recommending are Giuseppe Casara, Veronica Mott, Erin Stamp, Laura Sullivan, Connie Roach, Ray Presky. That is 6 or 5, 7. That's 6. And then there was one more. Oh, Priscilla Staley. Those are the 7 members that I am recommending. I wrote that in the email and as voting members, and then I'm recommending an additional 3 be appointed as non-voting members. That is Steve Quilliam, Cindy Balzano, and Allison Dello. I chose the 7. 6 of the 7 that I recommend to be voting members were part of the ad hoc playgrounds committee. That's what this advisory board was kind of born out of. I wanted to expand the scope and the legitimacy of that committee, so I wanted to make this advisory board. They've all been very active members of that ad hoc committee, and I think they would be excellent voting members on the advisory board. And then Connie Roach, due to her long experience and residency in Chester, could provide a different type of perspective when it comes to the parks, that different from the other 6 that I am recommending. And again, I also am recommending that we appoint the other three as non-voting members because I would still like them to be involved and share their perspectives as well. And perhaps in the future, a voting member will decide that it's, they no longer have the time. And right then and there, we have a pool of non-voting members to fill in those roles and be appointed to a voting position in the future. Are there any questions or debate points on my recommendations to the town board?
No.
What?
Let me see if this-
This came in today? Oh. We'll have to talk about that on a different day. This just came in today.
It actually came in the day before, but
Oh.
I circulated it today.
Gotcha. So are there are no questions or debate points?
No.
All right, seeing none, I would like to motion to appoint the members as the members that I stated as voting members to the Parks Advisory Board. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
I'm going to abstain.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes 3-0-1. Is there a motion to appoint the members that I stated, non-voting members?
I'll make the motion.
Is there I will second that motion. Is a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. I will notify the new members of the board and try to set up their first meeting. We have an education request from Julie Tiller to attend the New York State Retirement System Employer Education Seminar that is happening tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. There is no fee included. She would just like to be reimbursed for mileage as per usual of anybody who goes on an education request. Is there a motion to accept the education request?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those I'm sorry, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye, you threw us
Went
off
out
there.
of order, sorry.
You threw us- We're all in the same, you can't do that.
Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, we have a resolution, proposed resolution to re-levy the water accounts to the 2025 tax roll,
Unpaid.
unpaid tax.
Unpaid.
I'm sorry, do you want to?
Unpaid water charges.
Yes.
To the 2025.
So this
tax
is
bill.
actually part of the reason why we would like to start fixing our late fees and water rates and billing schedules because, I'm sorry. I know, but this is, has something to do with it because every year there seems to be a lot of, water taxes that are not paid out and then we have to re-levy it like we have to do right now. So that's just a side note. Are there any debate points or questions on this agenda item?
No.
As follows, Walton Lake Water District is $21,292.50. Surrey Meadows is $13,476.50. Lake Hill Farms is $23,992.58. Sugarloaf Hills Water District is $7,574.50. And then Fieldcrest is $3,160 for a total of unpaid taxes in the amount of $69,496.08. Is there a motion to re-levy?
I'll make the
water
motion.
accounts?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
I just have a question, probably directed to Liz. So if someone doesn't pay their bill for a year, for example, what recourse do we have?
So when someone doesn't pay their bill, it accrues the late fee per your code.
Right.
And then ultimately you get to, every year you hit the
Re-levy.
levy, it gets re-levied and then there's a penalty added to that because the county's going to charge extra to collect it.
Right, but meantime, they still get to use water.
Well, there are provisions in your code that after non-payment of a certain number of days, you do have the right to shut off water. You do have to go through some health department notifications to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But you do have some recourse, for late.
I thought the county had put a stop to that. The villages do that. They stopped the village from doing it.
Yeah, there are health department notifications, and you have to be careful when shutting off water.
Yeah.
It's a vital.
Yeah.
I only raise it because there are some people that said, I'm not paying. Because they know that it's not going to, water's not going to be turned off.
So it's going to
And
go into taxes. though,
yeah, I
so.
understand. Yeah.
So eventually the town does get it. It does present a cash flow issue.
Right.
When your budgets are tight, it just.
Hence for the needs change, which we will be doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, ethics code, local law amendments, reform package. This is a complete overhaul on the ethics code. Most notably, we are going to make good on a campaign promise of mine and some of my slate here. We would like to have ethics complaints sent directly to the ethics board. Currently, they are sent to the town board, and the town board can decide whether or not they should go to the ethics board, which I think is utterly unethical and ridiculous. So that is one of the major changes, but it's a rather all-encompassing overhaul based on more updated ethics codes. And we did get comments from the current ethics board. They were pretty benign, just asking about procedure and such. And we were able to answer all those questions, and there were no objections, as far as I know, from the ethics board as to anything that was going to be passed. Being that, are there any questions or debate points on this from the other town board members?
No, I think this has
Nope.
some teeth to it now.
Yeah.
Yep. I think
The
there's,
one comment from the ethics board was just a pure renumbering. There was a double number in the so I circulated a revised version.
Right.
No text changes whatsoever have been made, but again, just to
Number.
correct the numbering.
Yep.
So
I
may I ask a question about procedure? How will complaints be received, by whom? Did we come to a conclusion on that?
So, right now, they would essentially be directed straight to the ethics board. And your office would purely receive the envelope and put it in the ethics board box. You wouldn't open the envelope, you wouldn't have, the clerk's office would have no involvement past that. We did talk about, one of the comments, which we don't need to, wouldn't affect the law, was creating an ethics board email so that they could be received that way as well. So again, if a complaint comes in, it goes straight to the ethics board for consideration.
So it's going into a box for them to pick up, or is it going to be mailed to a member of the board? I thought we talked about an attorney receiving the mail, but.
You can do that. You don't need to set that in your local law, whatever procedure.
Okay, so it's not stated in here?
Yeah, you're not hogtied in that way. So whether it's right now the ethics board attorney is Mr. Goldstein. I
Yeah.
actually spoke to Mr. Goldstein. I saw him earlier today at another matter, and he said he generally liked the comments, the local law. So if it's, hi Gary, we have a file for you to come pick up, mail it to him, whatever it is, we can set up that.
It can either be through the
rules.
chairman or through the attorney.
Yeah, chair.
Maybe we can talk to me, Linda, and and David can sit down and talk about what best to do in terms of procedure.
Let it work
Yeah.
best for them. They are volunteers, so maybe the best option is going to be to go to Gary, and then he can notify them to set up a meeting.
Mhm.
I think this is a great change. I think it for transparency and doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Do you want to read the?
Yeah, so I did cause a resolution to be prepared. Whereas the Town of Chester Town Board desires to amend the town of Chester Code of Ethics to provide greater autonomy to the Ethics Board and to remove to the greatest extent practicable the town board from the deliberations of complaints to the Ethics Board. Whereas introductory local law 10 of 2024 entitled a local law to repeal and replace chapter 7 of the Town of Chester Code entitled Ethics Code of was introduced before the town board of the Town of Chester by resolution dated August 28, 2024. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing was held on September 25th, 2024. And whereas the town board has received and considered the comments of the Town of Chester Ethics Board, and now therefore be it resolved, having considered the introductory local law and the comments thereto, the town board of the Town of Chester hereby adopts introductory local law 10 of 2024 as local law 10 of 2024. And be it further resolved that the clerk shall cause said local law to be filed in the office of the Secretary of State.
I'd like to motion to pass the ethics code local law reform as stated.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. There's another campaign promise delivered for the people of Chester. Thank you all. All right, resolution to approve quotes from the state bid and allocate $39,006 of parkland funds for Black Sports Light. I know there was a question of looking into shielding quotes, and that has not been delivered yet. At this point, I'm not sure pushing through for this, I would like to, but even if it were to be delivered within 4 to 6 weeks, it still would need another 2 weeks to get installed. I think we could possibly afford to wait on this and table it for possibly the next meeting, based on where we are at in the
Process.
in the process and where we're at in the season, the sports season for the school. Does anybody have any agreement or disagreement with that?
I have no problem with that, but I assume in the meantime, we're trying to get a revised quote.
Yes,
Shirley?
Donna is
Okay.
already working on that.
Okay, great.
Very good. I'm in agreement.
Bob?
No, I'm good. I mean, it's a shame we couldn't get it done for this year, but I know that wasn't a lot. There was a lot of effort put into it. It wasn't that
Yes.
anyone dragged their feet on it. So
Kristen has been working her butt off on this, and
absolutely.
I'm extremely disappointed that we weren't able to get it in as well. But I would like to thank the police department for providing a light to the kids to be able to practice and play. And we had just approved. I had just worked with Walter and Bob on getting a couple of lights from the Performing Arts Center over there every Tuesday for practice, at least for the soccer club and everything. So we're doing our best to work with what we got. But by next year's season, this should no longer be an issue. I mean, hopefully by sometime in the winter, this should not be an issue. We're working as fast as we can, but we want to make sure we do it right and get the right equipment and spend the right amount of money. So I'd like to motion to table this at this point until October 23rd.
I'll second.
There's a motion by me and a second by Councilman Courtney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Resolution to authorize Supervisor Holdridge to sign the revised Orange County snow removal contract. We did this at 2 meetings ago or the last meeting, but we need to make a revision because we own Kings Highway now. So that was still included in that contract that we had. So we have to take that out, which lowers the revenue that we would obviously make from, the contract with the Orange County DPW. That's the only change.
We only own a piece through Sugarloaf.
Yes. That it did decrease the amount.
59,117.50.
Yes. All right. So is there a motion to authorize me to sign the revised contract?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. There is a request to display the menorah at Town Hall. It's for a lighting ceremony. We've done this in the past, I think, 5 years or so. I just wanted to put it on the agenda to make sure that we were, doing this the formal way. There was a question about whether or not we could do this. Our town attorney did, come back to us with an opinion that we are able to do this. It is not in conflict with any sort of state code that, separation of church and state, as long as we give the opportunity to do the same to other religious ceremonies. I'm in favor of it. I've taken actually part in the last couple menorah lighting ceremonies, and it's been a wonderful experience each time. Are there any questions or debate points on this?
Nope.
Nope.
I'd like to motion to accept the request to display the menorah and hold the lighting ceremony.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Linda, you have the email for that rabbi. Would you be able to notify him? Thank you. I noticed that you have this was the last minute updated one. Yeah. You thought you were almost done. All right.
There's
Sit
new
down.
business, so
Yeah.
that's
Education requests, Chris Cox Badger Conference in Dallas, Texas, from October 22nd to October 24th. This is going to be This is going to be paid for completely by Badger. That's the company that works with a lot of our water equipment, namely our water monitors, and this will afford our department head here, Chris Cox, to be able to learn more about the equipment that we're having installed and that we already own through Badger. And again, they are going to be paying for the full amounts. I did speak to Labor Council about this. He only requests that we do the initial payment for Chris, and Badger will reimburse us afterwards. That is the correct way to do it. Are there any questions or debate points on this?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion to accept the education request?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Tom, do you think you could do me a favor and notify Chris that he needs to have the town pay for it first, and then he needs to get in contact with Badger to reimburse us afterwards?
What is that going to include? Flight and everything?
Yes.
I mean, how is that going to work? Because there's probably already tickets purchased as per that.
Let's just get in touch with Chris about that, and he can come up to Neil and me, and we can work it out with Labor Council.
I'll reach out to him.
All right. Thank you. All right. ARPA allocation, $49.95 to pay for the full cabinet purchase, and $262.43 to pay for full shelving purchase. We allocated a couple $1,000s each for new shelving and cabinets here for our records management department and our building department. But the allocations that we previously made did not cover the full purchase cost. I'm imagining there was delivery and tax fees delivery fees that were additional to the initial quotes by these amounts. Are there any questions or debate points on this?
No.
Is there a motion to accept the ARPA allocations for these purchases,
I'll make the motion.
to allocate the ARPA
I'll make the
funds?
motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Resolution to authorize Supervisor Holdridge to sign grant docs for the Sugarloaf Sidewalks project and negative declaration for secret review. This is to allow me to pursue a grant opportunity to actually make the sidewalk dream in Sugarloaf come true. This does not finalize anything. This does not set anything into stone. It's just to be able to start the process to possibly receive a grant that we should get more information on very soon. But this is the last step that I need to do in order to kind of get the full news on this. So is there any questions or debate points on this?
I have some reading to do.
Sure.
So this is gonna be a multi-part resolution, so bear with me.
Read fast.
Whereas the town board of the town of Chester desires to install sidewalks in the hamlet of Sugarloaf, and whereas in furtherance of that effort, the town board desires to apply for the Community Resilience, Economic Sustainability and Technology Program, CREST, grant seeking $400,250 in grant funding with a town contribution of $42,000. And whereas in furtherance of the proposed project, the town has caused a short form environmental assessment form to be prepared. And now this is resolution part 1. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby declares itself to be lead agency for purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and further declares that this is to be an unlisted action for purposes of seeker. So if I could have that motion.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Becker.
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay. The next part is the negative declaration. Your engineering firm, through Kristen O'Donnell, has prepared a negative declaration for your consideration. The name of the action is Sugarloaf Sidewalks. This notice is issued pursuant to Part 617 of the implementing regulations pertaining to Article 8, this is seeker, of the Environmental Conservation Law. The Town of Chester Town Board, as lead agency, has determined that the proposed action shown on the related plans and described in the environmental assessment form is consistent with the procedures and criteria set forth in 6 NYCRR 617.7. The town has analyzed the relevant areas of environmental concern using the seeker standards and has determined that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Seeker status unlisted. Location east side of Kings Highway, Town of Chester, Orange County. Description of the action: construction of approximately 1,853 linear feet of sidewalk and curbing in 2 locations, with 2 new painted crosswalks along Kings Highway in the hamlet of Sugarloaf. Funding for this project is anticipated to come in part from the CREST grant through the Dormitory Authority of New York, DASNY. Reasons supporting this determination: based on its consideration of the available information, the town board, finds that there are no significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the proposed project for the following reasons. 1, the project will disturb less than 1 acre of land, and that much of the area of disturbance is currently impervious, therefore minimal impacts to stormwater are anticipated. 2, no mature vegetation is to be removed as a result of the development of the project. No wetland or areas subject to flooding are present within or within the immediate vicinity of the project site. No impacts to sensitive habitat or threatened or endangered species are anticipated. 3, there are several structures which are eligible for listing on the National Historic Register of Historic Places on Kings Highway in the hamlet of Sugarloaf, and a historic district within the hamlet was recently approved at the state level. A letter was received from the New York State Office of Park, Recreation, and Historic Preservation dated October 4th, 2024, which concludes no properties, including archaeological or historic resources, listed in or eligible for New York State and National Registers of Historic Places will be impacted by this project. Adequate and safe pedestrian connections encourage alternative modes of transportation and can result in less vehicle trips within the hamlet. Sidewalk improvements along Kings Highway are recommended in the town comprehensive plan. And then 6, no other significant impacts are anticipated.
Go back up. You have to enable editing.
Yeah, no, I'll get there.
Um,
And then, so the next resolution is now therefore be it resolved that upon review of the short form environmental assessment form, the town board hereby adopts the negative declaration as presented, which shall be incorporated into the minutes.
Are there any debate points or questions on this?
No.
All right. Is there I'd like to motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Becker.
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. I'll be signing that and sending.
You're not done yet?
You're not done, you got more?
I gotta get there. One more. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor shall be authorized to sign the application and other documents in connection with the town's request for funding under the CREST grant.
I'd like to motion to authorize me to sign it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay.
All
so we
right,
got
I
that
will
done.
be signing it and sending it off to Senator Scoops' office, who is working on our grant situation right now, and we should have hopefully very good news very soon about said grants.
Just let me get you I'll email you the corrected, because it was just that one typo I saw as I was reading.
All right. The plans for said sidewalks are not established yet. What you just heard were what was just necessary in order to get the grant application in. We will be having public hearings and, work sessions on any future sidewalk improvements, if any, in the near future. So be on the lookout for that. Resolution to set a special meeting on October 28th for the final order to establish ambulance tax district. This is in response to we had to obviously opt in, so did the village, but this is the final order that we need to kind of come in for 5 minutes to pass in order to get everything submitted in on time to the county.
This meeting assumes that there is no petition submitted for permissive referendum. It's the town board's order that they are not in receipt of that, and that's the final order, and that's what gets filed with the county and the state.
So that's
Okay.
up till the 28th, that they could still file.
No,
That's done.
their time runs,
I think it's the 27th or 26th.
we adopted it on the 25th.
we adopted on the 25th,
Didn't get the 25th.
and
So
so,
it's a special meeting on 28th.
correct.
So
Is everybody available at like 6 p.m. on the 28th?
That's a Monday. Court is usually in session. Did you check the schedule?
I did not.
Or speak with them?
When are they usually in session?
Monday and Tuesdays.
Do you know what time?
one does days, one does nights.
5 o'clock on, well, somewhere between 5 and 6 on Mondays. I don't know if they're,
Why don't you do 7?
they
on
seem
one?
to be here at 5, but I don't know if she sits at 6 PM or 5:30 PM.
I mean,
That time.
we could do it at 7, or we could, maybe do it at 6 at the senior center, maybe?
You won't have access.
Is that necessary? Is that necessary to televise it legally?
What about like a 4 o'clock maybe, or?
Oh, yeah. Why can't we just do it during the day? We can actually do it during the day. Why don't we just do this at 4 p.m.?
Might want to do it a little earlier with court. I know they usually have the day is set
3
up.
p.m.
3 p.m.
3 PM.
3 p.m.?
What day is that?
The 28th, it's a Monday. Yeah?
Let me just
I'll clear
double
my
check.
schedule.
We adopted I just wanted, before we adopted it on the 27th.
Okay.
On the 27th.
Yes, because remember,
Yes.
Yeah, you
had
had
a
a
little
special
hiccup.
meeting.
we had the
Yeah.
special meeting,
7.
so
How many days is a month? 31 or 30?
This
30.
30.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong.
so
Yes, it was the Friday, the
Set it.
27th.
set it for the 29th.
Are you sure?
Yes, because the 30 days falls on a Sunday by state law, it becomes Monday,
Oh,
so
sucks.
set it for the
All right.
29th.
Is everybody good
So
for?
that's at 3, they
3 p.m.?
hold court at 3 on Tuesdays.
Well,
Sorry.
Can we do 12 p.m. on Tuesday? Is everybody good for 12 p.m.? It's
Tuesday,
literally gonna be a
29th,
5-minute
you mean?
meeting.
Yeah.
5 minutes of your time.
I'm sorry, what time?
12 p.m.
No, I'm
on
not
Tuesday.
available. No.
Is there 3 of us that might be available on
I'll
Tuesday at
make
12
sure,
p.m.?
I'll make sure I'm available.
Tom?
Yep.
All right, good. Larry, are you okay with that? It's gonna be a 5-minute meeting to.
That's fine.
Thank you. All right.
It's in my calendar.
All right. So Tuesday, the 29th at 12 p.m. We're all good with that. 12 p.m.
And I'll have that order ready.
I'd like to motion to set the special meeting for Tuesday, the 29th at 12 p.m. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please. I'm saying, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Again, that is a formality meeting to just make sure that we get the final order into the county. All right, final stretch here. Resolution to authorize Supervisor Holdridge to sign revised contract with Hudson Valley EMS Solutions LLC. This is with Mr. Big. This is what we discussed in terms of only getting into a 1-month contract with him based on our discussions earlier until, we possibly, when we hash this out. And if we were to go into and accept the actual proposal for our Chester EMS, then we would sign an additional contract with him.
What is
But
this contract actually going to do?
this contract is to pay for the time that he has already worked for us, based on the other contract that we had initially accepted but never signed that first month. And
Okay,
also,
well, then wouldn't that fall on him if he did work without having a contract?
we accepted a contract. We never signed it because of discussions with the village. He did do work on our behalf, and we had discussed this amongst ourselves, and we all agreed that to be fair and compensate him for his work, and then also to help us to help guide us down the right path.
So there's going to be no further work by him. We're
Well,
just
it
covering.
does call for, it does, so to be clear, what I've attempted to do is
'Cause
essentially
we-
bifurcate the contract into two parts. Essentially, phase one would be, and this contract only covers phase one, because there was some concern about the 5 months when that started, when we needed it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the first phase is really a feasibility phase. So the scope of services shall be provide implementation timeline of municipally maintained ambulance service from the date of formation of an ambulance district through the establishment of advanced life support ambulance. Evaluate and identify appropriate ambulance vehicles, including the selection, identification of requisite specifications and design of such ambulance together with the cost thereof. Identify the cost of medical equipment and supplies, obtain quotes thereof. Identify potential billing and collections vendors and the cost thereof. Identify potential electronic health records and staffing software, and again, the cost thereof. Identification of a medical director and cost thereof. Identification of necessary staffing levels and cost thereof in relation to the implementation timeline. And by that, I mean, we talked about phasing in, starting with one, phasing up, what are the staffing levels with respect to that time, in relation to that timeline. Development and establishment of standard operating procedures for established ambulance service. If we, in the deliberations, the board then chooses to go forward, essentially this is to put together
The details.
the budget, so that you can make a final decision. Do we go with a private contractor, or do we go with a municipally formed service?
So what does this actually lock us into? With this agreement?
Just
Just
a
1 month?
month of consulting from him. Like Larry, you had a couple questions about timing, and
That's,
that's
That's
something that you can
part
now,
of
if once we sign this, you can go to Michael and say, hey, I'd like a analysis done on these 2 sheets that were provided by Orange County 911. So this is
So we're
just
going to pay him $10,000 for a month to ask questions that we can get for free from anybody.
no, because he is doing the work for getting all the information together for us. This isn't stuff that would just come free.
Well, we,
Wasn't
yeah,
a
we,
lot of this
but
done
that's,
already?
that's not really true. He is one source to get information. There's other places where you can get information. If he's already invested time and we made
a
an
commitment.
intent to sign an agreement with him to pay for his services, I understand that. So I don't have an issue with paying for the 1 month for what we've done.
That's what
But that's
what we're
just a
doing.
limit of that.
Yes.
so originally, the contract that was originally approved was for 5 months services. We
Yep.
then had subsequent discussions as to the timing, because there was getting quotes and things immediately right now, but we wouldn't be able to procure until a later date because of timing of the formation of the district and all of that, those other things. So having the 5 months start and run now is not cost effective to the town.
But, all right, fine. But right now, what the resolution at hand is to have a 1 month consulting
Yes.
agreement.
Yes.
What is the dates that it covers?
This
Do you
is,
have definitive-
It covers, it doesn't have the definitive dates.
this
included.
didn't, this one wasn't limited, and Mr. Biggs accepted that based on the scope of service, 10,000.
So it
So he's
doesn't
claiming
have
he
an
did
end date,
$10,000
is what-
worth of work.
This does not have a direct end
He
date,
didn't
but it does not
sign a contract, he
include
shouldn't have done
the,
Yeah.
it does not include any of the efforts for the actual, once it's the hiring,
Mhm.
any of that. So I've tried to, again, break it down into feasibility. So this contains all the
Mhm.
feasibility materials, and then the implementation, if that's the path the board chooses, we would then enter a second contract.
We can do this. We can do, we can accept the contract tonight pending the establishment of clear dates into the contract, because he already has time that he has claimed to have worked for the town, which he has based on our accepted contract before. And we can work out with him when the dates of this contract ends based on the dates that he's already worked. So we can do it pending the establishment of formal dates. Is everybody cool with that?
I believe you have to pay him for what he's already done. I mean, so I understand it. So we're paying him for everything he's done.
And we're
thus
still
far.
getting some time out of
And
him.
so I think we should get if we can get a clear commitment as to how much more time is that. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. We're,
Yeah.
we're gonna do
so we're gonna
pending.
do that.
Yes.
Is there a break-off point, say if so he was gonna give us 30 days worth of work for $10,000. So if he worked 15 days, why can't we just pay him 5,000? Do we need more out of him at this point right now without, we haven't made a direct decision on exactly what route we're gonna go with
That's
at
right.
this point.
That's
So why
correct.
why are we paying him for extended work that we don't need?
Because right now, the only work I've seen him do is for the town to set up its own EMS with its own staffing and stuff like that. I didn't really see anything in there about the other options of contracting with an EMS company like Empress or whoever. So it was really only he was only consulting for one solution.
This is
One
to
option.
consult for, now that we've kind of changed up everything, we're gonna have to sit down with him and, if you guys want more details, which is what you guys wanted and what the village wanted, we're gonna have to take up more of his time to go over all of the details as to what it's gonna look like for a Chester EMS. We accepted a contract for 5 months for all of that and plus implementation. Now we've only gotten so far, and now things have drastically changed. He did a lot of work for us, and now he's going to have to do more work to.
Well, we'll cover that work, but anything else he does from this point on to get a contract in the future, he's just got to give us more information.
I don't know if he'll be willing to give us information for free.
If he wants a contract.
But again, the resolution at hand
It's just
is for 1 month,
Yeah.
$10,000.
Yes.
I mean, from where I sit, I mean, I think we have to pay him for what he's done. I mean,
Absolutely. I got
I
no
agree.
issue with that.
I agree.
mean, Then,
I just don't want to pay for anything more.
so
than
we're
that.
looking, so just so I understand, because now I'm getting confused a little bit, because I'm sitting next to you, I think.
Maybe.
I'm young thickhead.
We're looking to pay him for the month of September, then see if there's negotiate any additional time in there.
Well, no, because he hasn't worked a full month. He hasn't, that's what the contract covers, is the time that he's worked plus whatever is left in a month. We can talk to him about what is left in a month per the work that he's already done. We can do pending the end date, in which I can talk to him tomorrow about and see what that end date actually is.
And I wouldn't necessarily, when I drafted this draft, I focused on the scope of services.
Mhm.
I-
It's,
so-
when we
so
talk
the
about
question
dates,
is,
it's not
He may
really
have already
dates.
done some of the scope of services.
Okay.
What does the scope of services that I read you? for
Is
a
what
visa- well, no, not necessarily what he's done. I'm not going to speak to what he's done. The scope of services, is that sufficient for you for, again, this consultancy is for I'm considering it feasibility. Does that scope of services get you a sufficient feasibility to make it determinate,
I just got a text from Michael. He said 30 more days of help.
Wow.
for the contract that we are working at. So he's basically giving us a month and a half worth of consulting based on everything. He also, in his consulting agreement, he also states that it might not be a Chester EMS. He will help us if we have questions about the other, contracts or proposals that are put in front of us. He will give us his consultation on those and how we could make them work. Again, we agreed to a 5-month deal with him, and then we basically reneged, without signing the agreement, obviously. So it wasn't a formal renege, but we have to pay him for the time that he did, and we could get some more work out of him. I think it's absolutely worth it, especially when I know there is a good contingent on the town board that would like to move in the direction of a Chester EMS.
I think you have to pay him for pay him for what he has done so far, which the original contract is 10,000. So what the array of services were, I don't know we could check the box, say what he didn't do. To me, it doesn't sound like the contract says he for the month, he's going to supply information 70 hours in the month.
No,
for each
these are
month.
deliverables.
So
These are deliverables. So it whether it takes him 5 hours to do or
right,
30 hours to do, whatever, the information, the purpose is to get the information. So that's at least how I'm interpreting.
So I'm all for paying for him. I don't know what kind of information, if there is any, he can give us right now, because I think everyone's on a fact-finding mission right now.
Yeah.
Question I have is, was there a formal vote by this board to hire him to begin with?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was a meeting I wasn't attended to.
I think you were at that meeting.
It was
Back in September.
It was
That was when I
on
was on my fishing trip.
it was on the first September meeting.
First September meeting.
Yes, there was a vote.
We voted to accept a 5-month contract for $50,000, and we reneged.
Are we set to vote on this?
I'm set,
Yeah, I mean, we got to pay him for what he's the work he's done.
and he's offering another 30 days of consultation on top of the work that he's already done.
I think everyone's going to be on a fact-finding, so probably won't be much he'd be doing. I don't think, but I could be wrong.
I'd like to motion to accept the contract for $10,000
So-
pending the addition of the 30 days.
Is the board required to rescind the prior vote, or is this a revision to?
I think we
I
already
would
did that.
rescind. I would rescind the
Didn't we
prior.
already do that?
No.
No?
No.
All right, I'd like to rescind my motion. I'd like to motion to, how would you say?
Rescind the prior.
Resolution.
The prior resolution accepting a contract with Hudson Valley EMS Solutions for a 5-month contract. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to motion to accept a 1-month contract with Hudson Valley EMS Solutions pending the addition of the 30-day increase of work time to the contract. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll make the motion. We have to pay him for what he's done already. So, and then the additional 30 days, that's,
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
I will abstain.
Councilmember Courtney,
aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes 3-1-0. 3-0-1. Thank you. Resolution to accept Jefferson Solutions Incorporated Services for the GASB 75 2023 audit component. An email went on this today to everybody. Basically, we need to submit the GASB 75 to the state comptroller's office. We need to have it done for the 2023 audit, which is happening imminently at the end of the month. We had 2 quotes, one for somewhere in the $4,000 range, and it wasn't going to be able to be delivered to us until 2025. If we were to go with that route, we would get another qualified opinion on our report for the 2023 audit, which would be bad for us because it could be held against us when it comes to bonds, bans, bids, so on and so forth. It's basically like a bad credit score for the town.
Yeah, I think we need to get that done.
Yes.
Yep,
And
we do.
so we have another offer for less money, and they will be able to deliver it this year before the 2023 audit will be completed, which is good.
Let's get it done.
So I'd like to motion to accept the Jefferson Solutions Incorporated Services for our GASB 75. Is there a second?
Motion?
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously, and that, again, just for the record, was for $3,250 as opposed to $4,000 and change dollars. So thank you for that. Resolution to accept bids from the Highway Department surplus equipment. So the bids came in yesterday. That's why it's a new business. They're $2,950 for the 1995 Leaf vacuum, the $330 for the John Deere brush hog, and $195 for the John Deere back blade. Are there any debate points or comments on this?
No.
No.
Is there a motion to accept the bids?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. There is another last minute request from the police department to purchase a 2024 Chevrolet Tahoe PPV 4WD four-wheel drive for $54,000. We had $48,000 budgeted for, and they were requesting an additional $6,000 for the purchase. My only hesitation with this is I wasn't able to speak to the comptroller about where that additional $6,000 would come from. That is my only
Before we make that,
hesitation on this.
before we make that leap, since it's $6,000 over budget for that item, typically the Ford vehicles are, I know what was put in the request for 2025, the Ford was $4,000 less than the Chevy. I would have liked to seen also a quote for what the Ford would be. So if it, for example, if the Ford is 4,000 less, that's so we only have to come up with 2,000 instead of 6,000. Especially since, we're over budget on it.
I get where you're coming from there. This was budgeted for, so the police department, and I know I spoke to the chief earlier, the Tahoes are preferred. And we also historically get more money back from them when it comes time to resell them. It was already budgeted for, we could definitely, I believe we can definitely have a debate on what sort of vehicles we could be budgeting for in 2025. But because this was already budgeted for, I think we should honor the request from the police department.
But it's not budgeted. We're over 15% over budget.
We
So-
budgeted $48,000
Well-
for the Tahoe. Yes, it is over budget. But the police, asked for a Tahoe, and I'd like to deliver that to them. But again, I'm hesitating tonight to do this because I don't know where the $6,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We budgeted for a vehicle. Would like to have a Chevy Tahoe, but the point is we budgeted for a vehicle. I like to make that distinction.
Well, I guess I'm going to challenge that, Larry, because you know what, the chief's the in-house expert as far as I'm concerned of what we're purchasing and what we're putting our offices in. If he thinks it's got to be a Tahoe worth $6,000, I mean, on the backside of it, what are we getting for the Ford versus the Chevy when we go to sell it? I mean, is it $3,000 difference? Is it, there could be a $3,000. We could be talking at the end of the whole run with one vehicle, could be a $3,000 difference.
I also,
I use this, I have this argument with my son every year. He buys a truck with a diesel, and he said, I always get the money back. The point is, he's spending $10,000 more to have a diesel engine in his truck, but when he turns around and sells it, he may get $4,000 more. You're paying all that money up front. I don't argue the point that maybe the Tahoe on a resale, you get a little bit more money, but it's not substantial. Again, we're a shortfall on a budget, and we're in a budget crunch. That's why I'm stressing this.
Chief, did you have an idea of where the $6,000 would come from off the top of your head?
If it's possible, I mean, it would obviously be up to the comptroller, but I think it can come from like .4.
Would you be comfortable with us tabling this tonight and just, confirming that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we ordered this vehicle in February and, we needed it months ago, so
We
the
talked,
sooner we can get it, the better. It's available now.
and
but-
we talked about this at the budget workshop.
Hmm.
Could we pass it with, final, with the premise that the money is
Pending
there?
the,
Or do we have, where are we at with ARPA? I know we keep saying ARPA.
we have
ARPA, I don't know.
$16,000 left in ARPA. I was hoping to use that for, the security cameras in the parks.
So I guess the question is, there other money in the police department budget for
Well,
24?
you just said that there might be
available, right,
some in
so-
the 4.4. So I guess per Bob's comment, we could pass this resolution pending the location the $6,000 is coming from. Is that something that,
Yeah, I mean,
would you like to make a motion?
I mean, if we would have passed on and wait for the next meeting, I think you did say at the budget meeting that, it's hard to find these vehicles already made and they make them certain times of the year, then they stop making them and they make something else.
And you already placed the order on this vehicle because it was budgeted for in the 2024 budget.
Right,
Back
we
in
ordered
February.
this vehicle in February. and-
Yeah.
And as I said at the budget meeting, the manufacturer, they didn't have any on the lot, and then they shut down the plant because they were making something else, and then they started making them again in August, and now it's October and the vehicle's ready.
And just to clarify, in your budget, it says 2024 Chevrolet Tahoe PPV four-wheel drive, not just a vehicle for the police department, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
In last year's budget request, I had 2 vehicles listed.
The specific
and-
vehicles.
And the amount that went into the .2 was the amount that associated on the line with the Tahoe.
Thank
At
you.
the time that I prepared a budget in September, I don't know what the state bid price is gonna be the following year, so I'm guessing.
Got it. All right, well,
One more dumb question, because I just had this in another jurisdiction. Do you have other budgeted funds for all the gadgets that have to go on the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, just double checking.
And that, you're good with that? Those numbers are good, Dan, for the setup?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2024 Chevy Tahoe at $54,000 pending the exact budget line that the additional $6,000 needed will be coming from. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. I will talk to Neil tomorrow about the 6,000. I will inform the town board of where that needs to come from. Last thing, police department request to install a garden hose at the police department.
I was asking who was.
The water department will be helping with the installation. It's only going to be about $100 for supplies to do this. Is there any debate points or questions on this?
I just have one concern as per the water agreement possibly with the Village of Chester. I'm not sure if it states it or not, but it eliminates the use of water outside water usage. I know the highway garage does all their washing inside and stuff. So that being said, I have no issue with this other than I want to clarify that the use of this spigot for police vehicles only, not for personal vehicles, for the fact that the village may have something in the contract for Fieldcrest, which this is served by, may not allow outside usage. So for police vehicles only.
Does police vehicles fall inside usage, right?
Not so much outside, but it's just for police vehicles. I don't
Yeah,
want,
that's-
you know,
that's the
I don't
plan,
want, you
correct?
know,
And it's only, but you're looking for the winter months, right? Just to get the salt and stuff off it.
Or, I mean, again, that,
Yeah.
car ends up on a dirt road covered in mud
Yeah.
at 8 o'clock at night, it'd be nice to.
The discrepancy that the deputy supervisor,
Until the car wash opens.
wait, it's just,
I just
Just
don't,
for
I don't
police
want to make sure
vehicles,
we're
correct?
not violating anything with the village contract for Fieldcrest. You know, being that vehicles are being washed by the highway department, I don't think there's an issue with the police department. I just want to clarify that it's for town vehicles only, that's all.
I don't anticipate anybody watching it.
Okay, thank you.
their motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Is there any other new business at this time? Is there any public comment at this time, Michelle?
I have no.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. 4:09.